Theodore knelt down before the bundle, transfixed by the creature's peculiar and heartbreaking form. "What in the world?" he murmured. He'd heard rumors, fearsome tales of monsters and fantastical beings, but he'd never believed them. Now one sat in front of him, helpless and shivering. His heart twisted within him. Theodore's heart ached at the sight of her frightened expression. He reached out with a gentle hand, his fingers trembling slightly. "It's all right," he murmured, his voice soft and soothing. "I won't hurt you." Theodore's brow furrowed as he listened to Levi's voice on the other end of the phone. Anger simmered in his gut, intensifying at the sound of his colleague's callous accusations.
Satisfied?
"You think this is about satisfaction, you—" He spat back, struggling to keep his voice low so as not to disturb the sleeping Teresa. "You were the one who screwed up. If you had just handled things properly—" The sight of Teresa seeking the residual warmth on the bed sent a pang through Theodore's chest. He had to admit the little creature was beginning to grow on him. He stepped back into the bedroom, still holding his tea. Sitting down on the edge of the bed again, he watched her sleep for a moment, her tiny movements almost mesmerizing. "You're quite a mystery, aren't you?" he murmured, barely above a whisper, so as not to wake her. Hannewald reached over to where his eyeglasses sat on the bedside table, picking them up and settling them onto his nose. He adjusted them with a small smile. "Better," he murmured, the clarity of his vision immediately improving. He turned his attention back to Teresa, his eyes studying hers. Hannewald's other eye opened, squinting through the blur of sleep. "My glasses?" he repeated, still a bit disoriented. He attempted to sit up a little, his free hand instinctively reaching for the nightstand to adjust the glasses. "You didn't break them, did you?" he asked with a slight edge to his voice, despite being only half awake. "You're different," he said after a moment, his voice unusually soft. She didn't see him as the uptight, emotionless man he tried so hard to be. She saw past his defenses, past the cold exterior he'd built over the years. He stepped toward the castle, their collective breaths creating small clouds in the cool air. As they crossed the threshold, the weight of the castle seemed to settle around them, a heavy silence that was almost eerie. Hannewald's expression hardened at Genius's question, his shoulders tensing. He knew full well the risk involved in giving anything new to Teresa's hybrid biology, but he was determined. "She's not like most babies," he said gruffly. "Besides, we need to start somewhere." Hannewald's eyes followed Genius's gaze, his expression turning softer. The thought of her fragile form, so small and innocent in her big pile of blankets, sent an unfamiliar swell of protectiveness through him. He knew she wasn't like a normal child, and that meant extra caution had to be taken with every decision he made for her. He looked back at Genius, his stern facade returning. "It'll be fine. But you—" Hannewald stiffened at the statement. He knew Genius was right, but he wasn't used to voicing it, let alone someone else pointing it out. "She's unique," he said finally, avoiding Genius' gaze. Hannewald bristled at the comment, an old familiar defensiveness creeping up his spine. but he was too tired, too exhausted to argue. His eyes drifted back to the small girl in his arms, her soft breaths like a soothing lullaby. "I'm not a father," he finally said, the denial automatic despite the tenderness in his voice.